Hi everyone, it's Sam, NFTstatistics with your proof daily NFT countdown. Lot to talk about today, but you know what? I say that every day. Always feels like there's a lot to talk about, but we're going to talk about the Starry Night portfolio, frozen assets, artist profile, a bunch of cool trades. Let's get right to it. Market overview. ETH volumes were down from these crazy levels. Again, I don't put too much weight in this up or down just because these numbers are crazy. So many weird trades with the airdrop farming. Unique buyers were down. We're kind of just at the 1 month average for unique buyers, even with all this absolute crazy volume. Market share, again, ETH volumes, completely all on Blur. That's where the airdrop farming is, and that's also where the liquidity is right now. That's where the best prices are, so that's where people are going. In terms of unique buyers, it's definitely moving towards Blur, but still more than half of the unique wallets are trading on OpenSea still. So some metrics still haven't made the complete and total move. Floor prices were down a fair bit. You can see here that large cap's down a good deal. And the reason I have this arrow here, because my chart kind of cut it off, but Bored Ape ecosystem was down about 8%. That's the biggest weight in the large cap index. Cool Cat's down as well. VFriend's up. But really, I think Bored Apes were the story. What happened? We talk a lot about airdrop farming. What you can see in this chart is there's been this consistent wall of bids just sitting at 6.1. And this is for the entire week. They've just been sitting there, tons of volume going on there. And that bid wall completely broke. So you saw trades go from 16.1 down to like the 15.2, 15.4 range. You've also seen the Bored Ape. This is the board where the Bored Ape trades have been. I circled basically where Mando and OSF sold 72 apes into the bid walls. The prices have pretty much been going down ever since that happened on Bored Ape Yacht Club. I've talked about Machi Big Brother just because he is the one player in this game who's not really keeping his balances even. Most of the big airdrop farmers are never long or short, 500 to 1,000 ETH of NFTs. Machi Big Brother has gone long about 7,500 over the past few days. He's sold a few apes, but he's still quite, I say, long and strong. He's still pretty long, hasn't really dumped despite kind of releasing a few of the apes in his wallet. Mid-cap index down small. Most of the things were down, but we did have a lot of strength in Valhalla. I'll show the chart here. You can see the floor price rising back above 1 ETH. Cool to see that. Now, this chart looks a lot more normal. Why does this look more normal than all those really rigid charts? Because Valhalla is a royalty enforcing collection, and royalty enforcing collections do not have a lot of airdrop farming. You can see here the median trade has gone from, again, below 1 ETH to about 1.1, 1.2. Nice to see that. Worldwide Webland. This is just a project that just jumped up. They raised, I think, $10 million from, I believe, Pantera. But the result is we had a nice little pump there. Floor price in the land went from 0.2 to 0.4 ETH. I don't know a ton about the project, but nice to see. And why did I put base punks in here? This is just a silly deriv. The reason I put it in here is because, just to show you the lesson, derivs, I've been a punk for a long time. Punk derivs almost always end up going to zero. Some don't, but most do. What you can see here, this is based on the Coinbase kind of colors. These have animation. I caught this punk blinking when I took the screenshot, but this was released yesterday. The floor price immediately went to 0.15 ETH. You had 100 trades at 0.15 ETH. The price went down back to now 0.03, 0.04. Just a reminder, and don't get too into the derivatives that kind of pump based on the recent meta. They normally don't work. And then in terms of art blocks, art projects, where was the action? Metropolis by MP Cause again at the top. That was just dropped yesterday. Not too surprising. There was a big Fidenza sale, 80 ETH, a Gazer sale, 25.7 ETH. Other than that, not a whole lot of action. Only 5 collections did 10 or more ETH of volume. Second story, the Starry Night portfolio. This has been kind of released about a week over the past week, but I did want to do a little bit of digging. The Starry Night portfolio, for those who don't know, is the NFT portfolio that 3 Arrow Capital built. 3 Arrow Capital went bankrupt, is in liquidation right now, and it was recently announced some of the plans to sell the NFTs that were in the Starry Night 3 Arrow portfolio. Now, this was kind of confusing. They said the steps will commence within 28 days. This was done on February 23rd, and in any event after March 23rd. I don't know what that means. One says before, one says after. Let's see. Hopefully, I imagine it's in the next few weeks. Things to know about this liquidation, because I do think it is important. When you look at the wallet that's liquidating, it's pretty wild. There are a lot of NFTs in this wallet, 274, and a lot of supply relative to the liquidity of the collections that are being sold. The other thing I say here is that many of the NFTs will not be immediately sold. If you look at the memo, there are 2 different categories. But as far as the ones that will be sold, these are all in the bucket. One is this ringer that was bought for 1,800 ETH, the second most expensive ringer ever. A zombie punk that was bought by them for 980 ETH. Fidenza, Subscapes. You have a bunch of really cool NFTs. that were paid up for, but that are about to go to auction. Now, what's interesting is there are a few collections of really grail NFTs where there are a lot coming to market. So you have 30 Fidenzas you can see here on the right. I'm just going to circle these ones. All the projects I've circled have more that are going to be sold in this auction than have traded in the past 3 months. So these blue bar is how many of these NFTs are about to be sold. The red bar is how many trades have there been in that project in the past 3 months. You can see Fidenza's about 2x supply, Ringers also 2x supply, Archetypes 1.5x supply. There'll be 3 autoglyphs sold. The only autoglyph that's sold over the past few months. I think the last sale, other than Kevin Rose's, which got stolen, was 5 months ago. So we'll see where the liquidity is at for a lot of these illiquid collections. The second thing is they said that there is a portfolio called, which is the Starry Night portfolio, which is separate. So a bunch of the one-of-ones are currently kind of being figured out in court what to do with them. These will not be sold. There are 481 of them, but you have the original Pepe, which was bought by this portfolio for 1,000 ETH. A bunch of X copies, the original Frenzy, which of course is worth nothing now. But interesting to see, these ones, who knows what's going to happen with them. I think they're still figuring that out in court. This group, though, will not be sold. Okay, so I just think this is an interesting chance to see where price is really clear. A lot of art blocks are really illiquid. So these 4 sales, I'm curious to see how this plays out. Third story, Blur stops flagging frozen assets. And this is a story I have spent a lot of time paying attention to. Last spring, I really put a lot of pressure on OpenSea because I thought the frozen asset policy was leading to a lot of people buying NFTs when they weren't frozen, getting frozen, immediately losing money, not helping the hack victims. The freezing is what happens after someone steals an asset. So I know this is an issue that I've spent a lot of time thinking about. Blur basically announced, it wasn't a huge announcement. They just said starting today, Blur and LooksRare, so LooksRare as well, are no longer going to be showing when OpenSea flags an asset. They still, though, however, are not going to let owners of frozen assets dump them into bids. So that was the full announcement. What did they mean by this? On Blur right now, if an asset is frozen, you can see here where this arrow is pointing. There's a little sign that crosses out the OpenSea logo. Basically says it can't be traded on OpenSea. A lot of the floors, this is for Bored Apes. You can see the 2 floors both have, they can't trade on OpenSea. How did I put these up if they got rid of them? You can go into the settings and say, I want to keep the tradable, not tradable on OpenSea logo if you want to. Okay, so you can do that. It's a little confusing to do it, but you still can. But they're making the default that they're not going to show you that. Why are they doing this? I think they are saying, we are in charge now. OpenSea has this flag, but we don't want to honor it. We don't want to give it the time and attention of even saying it's so relevant. And ultimately, what will probably happen is the prices are going to converge. Where it used to be that frozen assets would trade at a 10 to 15% discount to the normal floor. Right now, I think what you're going to see happen is with Blur having so much of the market share, so much of the attention, people are going to stop really differentiating and the flag will become less and less relevant. I do think it's good that until you really see that fungibility between frozen and not frozen, that they're not allowing people to dump the frozen assets. Now, just a bit of background. Currently, OpenSea has frozen about 1.5% of all blue chip NFTs. So all those are basically just not tradable on OpenSea, and we're trading at a discount before. So that it's been an issue for a while. Already, though, and this is super interesting, within just 12 hours of this being announced, within just 12 hours, you can see the floor prices for World of Women, Clonex, Moonbirds, Azuki has basically converged. In all of these images, one of the NFTs is frozen, one of them is not. These are the cheapest in both categories, and they're all within 0.01 ETH. So you're already seeing it play out, that basically people are starting to ignore the flag. I kind of made this table here. This is the price of flag versus unflagged. And you can see in some cases, most of them are all just identical. In some cases, you actually have the unflagged trading at a discount to the flag 4. So interesting to see how it goes. My view is I think too many people lost money because of frozen assets. I don't think it did help victims sometimes, but most of the time it did not. Normally, the thief would run off with the money before it was flagged, and it would just be an innocent buyer stuck holding the bag. So I think it's good. I don't think OpenSea ever truly owned up to the money people were losing by getting stuck with frozen assets. So I personally think it's good to kind of start moving this behind us. I do have a ton of empathy for hack victims. I just don't think this helped all that much. It did sometimes, but not all that much. Fourth story, Proof launches artist profiles. This is from Proof. To me, this is interesting just because as someone who looks through data a lot, it's always difficult to find all the X-copy pieces out there. All of an individual artist pieces out there, especially with AOTM and other marketplaces taking share from Super Rare right now. Now, this doesn't fully solve this, but I think this is moving in that direction. basically all the artists who have done work on Proof. Proof has created a page for them where you can learn about their background, see their Proof art, see any media that we have recorded with them, any of the podcasts I've done. Here you see pages for a few different artists, and then you can click in, see the videos made, see their work on Proof. Now, the next step, what I'm excited about, what I really want here is to have all the work that they've done across different exchanges. If the team can do that, that'd be fantastically helpful. But cool to see this. I think the producing team for what we're building here on the podcast side is just doing incredible work to highlight the work of artists. So have a look at some of that stuff, but exciting to see kind of this develop further. And then lastly, we're talking about notable sales. We didn't talk about him yesterday. I hated that. We're talking about him today. 4 different trades we're going to talk about. The first, this one is from Lascaux. Lascaux, as we know, he's a non. He's done some open edition work, but this was a 101 that sold for 17.8 ETH. The artist said the owner will get original spray stencil and frame sent in May or June. So you can be the judge as well of what that means, but that was something that was tweeted. It actually wasn't his only sale. There were 2 sales above 10 ETH in the 1 space. This piece on the right sold for 10.65 ETH. So congrats to the artist and people there. I did want to take a look at the additions. Lascaux really started kind of the burn craze. And you can see in December, there was just a ton of energy around it, 1,500 to 2,000 ETH, ton of mystery. Over time, you can see the market cap has gone down basically to around 320 ETH for that edition. So just wanted to throw that update in there. Second thing to talk about, 2 Enlightened Moondbirds sold for 33 ETH. Now, this is just relevant because it's been a while since there have been Grail Moonbird sales. You can see there was one in November that sold for over 40 ETH. But these sales, what this chart looks at is the max price paid for Moonbird. These sales were the second highest basically since October in terms of price paid for Grails. This is a unique trade. There are only 6 of them. Unfortunately, the buyers did pay a lot more for them. I think one was 120. I'm sorry, the person who sold the NFTs, I think paid 120 and 80 for them, but still nice to see a little bit of liquidity there. Here's a trade, third trade to talk about. This is a NFT trader trade, kind of NFTs for NFTs. It was a Bored Ape, 4-trait cheetah, VR glasses, robot glasses for 10 Pudgy penguins. Now, this one surprised me at first because, whoops, I have these numbers. We'll get rid of those. But this one surprised me at first because this ape, last time it sold, I believe, was for 140 ETH. The Pudgy penguin floor is around 6. So 10 times 6, 60 for an ape that sold for 140 ETH. Probably that value for the Grail's down a little bit. But as I did a little bit more digging, I understood it a little better. These kimonos that these 2 penguins have on the right are both Grail traits. The floors on those are 18 for the gold, 35 for the diamond one. So, and I'm sure these others, knowing Eric who got them, have some, are Grails, some rare as well. So that's kind of an interesting trade. Different people had different views on that one. And then the last trade to talk about, this is a cool artist. I just wanted to highlight his work. This piece sold for 6 ETH. It's called Plane Ride by It's Ryan Anderson. If you look at Ryan Anderson's work, it's actually videos that kind of go through full scenes, and you have a later one where they walk through the aisle and then one looking out the window. Really cool to go check out his work. This one sold for 6 ETH. He says that his work revolves around the idea of nostalgia, and each piece that he has is a different theme relative to this. And the theme he tried to highlight here was acceptance of the past. So interesting. Watch the video, see if you feel it. Here are 4 other sales for Ryan. He's had sales at 5.5, 6.9, and one as high as 8 ETH. One of the things Grant Yoon said on our podcast is that the key to being a one-of-one artist, for him has largely been having a unique identifiable style. Ryan definitely does this, super identifiable. Each piece kind of has a unique narrative to it. So go check out his work. It's pretty fun. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did like it below. Subscribe to our channel. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. We'll be back on Monday and every weekday. Have a great weekend.